Hello grade 10s, it's Gail. This is a short video that introduces you to investigations 1 and 2 of trig graphs. Trig graphs are important, they're interesting, and they're also really relevant. Whenever you have anything to do with movement in a circle or an ellipse, you're likely to come across a trig function. Over here, you have the daylight hours for Helsinki and Vienna. And you'll notice that obviously in their winter, the daylight hours are short, and then in their summer, the daylight hours are long. And that the change in daylight hours isn't a straight line. This is what you will be investigating. The first trig function that you're going to graph is y is equal to sine x. When we draw graphs, we use the Cartesian plane. The vertical axis is the y-axis, and along the y-axis we are going to have our calculator value of sine x. Along the x-axis we have the angle x. That implies that the x-axis is in degrees. You will have scales something like this: 1, 0, minus 1, and along the x-axis the intervals will be much smaller. So over here I'm just marking every 90 degrees. And on the left-hand side, I have the negative angles. Let's do an example. If you key in on your calculator the sine of 90 degrees, you get the answer 1. This generates a point in the Cartesian plane where x is 90 degrees, and sine of x, which is y, is 1. And we would graph that point over here. Likewise, if we took the sine of minus 90 degrees, we would get negative 1. This generates the ordered pair minus 90 degrees minus 1, and we would graph that minus 90 minus 1, which is over there. When you are graphing the function y equal to sine x, it's going to be necessary for you to calculate the sign of negative angles. I'm just going to clarify your calculator work here. If x is equal to negative 90 degrees, the sine of negative 90 degrees is keyed into your calculator as follows. You press the sine button, and now you need a negative angle. You key in the negative using the negative button here as opposed to the subtract operative. You will get the answer negative 1. In the second investigation, you will be investigating the function y is equal to 2 sine x. This means that you multiply sine x by 2. If x is equal to 90 degrees, you are looking for 2 sine 90 degrees. And that is exactly what you key into your calculator. 2 and then sine 90. And you will get the answer 2. Also in the second investigation, you will be dealing with the function y is equal to sine of 2x. In this case, you are multiplying x by 2. You are doubling the size of the angle and then finding the sine of the doubled angle. So if x is equal to 90 degrees, you are looking for the sine of 2 times 90 degrees. And once again, you can see this is exactly what you key into your calculator. The answer that you will get is 0. This is one case where you can't be lazy and leave out the multiply sign, because if you do, you'll get the sine of 290 degrees, which is just silly. The last page of investigation 1 has the grid where you are going to plot your points and draw your graph. You should print this out. If you don't have a printer, then hang on a bit and I'll show you how to draw up your own grid in your maths books. You need to add a scale to your grid. Along the x-axis, remember that is where we're measuring degrees. Every interval is 15 degrees. So along the x-axis, each block is 15 degrees. I suggest that you label every 90 degrees, as I've shown, and that you remember every 2 blocks is 30 degrees, from 0 to 360 and 0 to negative 360. On the y-axis, every block is 0.1, and so you label 1 over there, 2 over there, and remember that every block is 0.1. You should pause this video while you're setting up your grid. If you don't have a printer, turn your maths book landscape orientation and use your blocks to set up a grid as I've shown here. Once again, every block is 15 degrees, so I've shown 30-degree intervals just for accuracy. You will only fit in from negative 180 to 360, but that shouldn't affect your investigation. On the y-axis, every 4 blocks should be 1. So there's 0.5, there's 1.5, there's negative 0.5, negative 1.5. You shouldn't have any difficulty with plotting using this axis. Pause the video while you set up your axes. You're now ready to get on with the investigation in earnest, so I'll just make sure you're on the right track. The first investigation, you are investigating the function y equal to sine x, and question 1 tells you to use your calculator to complete the values in the table. To find sine of 90 degrees, you get that on your calculator, key in sine of negative 90, and your answer is negative 1. I'm going to do random ones, going to skip a few. You're not allowed to do that. Key in sine of negative 60, round off to 2 decimal places, and you will get 0,87. If you key in the sine of 0 degrees, your answer is 0. And if you key in the sine of 30 degrees, your answer is 0,5. Once your table is complete, you can move on to question 2, which tells you to plot the points and draw the graph. I'll plot the points that I've calculated. The first one is negative 90 degrees and negative 1. So there's negative 90 degrees, there's negative 1, and that will generate this point over here. The next one is negative 60 degrees, so it's 3060, it's over here, and it is negative 0,87. So it's going to be approximately there. Let's just short of 0.9, and so it's that point over there. The third point I have is 0, 0, which you know is the origin. And the fourth point is 30 degrees and 0,5, which plots out there. Here's an outline of what you expected to do in investigations 1 and 2. Investigation 1, you're investigating the function y equal to sine x. You have to complete the table, plot the points and draw the graph. Then there's a series of questions you should answer, and after you've completed this, watch the answer video and make any necessary corrections to your work. You then go on to investigation 2. Use a different color for the first part of this investigation. Y equal to 2 sine x is the function you're investigating. You have to complete a table, plot the points, draw a graph, and answer the questions. Please plot the points and draw the graph on the same axis as investigation 1. Change color again as you move through investigation 2. You go on to the function y is equal to sine 2x, complete the table, plot the points, draw the graph, answer the questions. And when you have finished both of these, you watch the answer video and correct your work.